whenever something negative happens to PlayStation, you can bet the bank that they're going to try to gloss over that with some type of sales numbers for something. And that's exactly what we have with this situation. So, as many of you guys know, the Insomniac Games hack is one of the age's biggest hacks of all times. And the amount of news and things coming out is really insane to kind of go over. Now, I'm not glorifying this in any way. Like the personal information and stuff I think is abhorrent. It's just, just like with the Xbox hack, the Nvidia hack, all these things that happen and that people will report on, it's just weird to me that there hasn't been that same amount of rush to report on the stuff that's in the hack that's, not personal stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. But Sony, as expected, come out and show the shiny, so to speak. And the day after the big Insomniac hack, we get an idea that PlayStation has sold 50 million PS5s, which is behind the PS4, which is behind the PS2. So they were quick to say, hey, here's our, third best selling PlayStation. Hooray. So anyway, according to the Financial Times, sales of the PlayStation console were up 65% to 22.5 million units last year. In comparison, annual Xbox Series X and S sales reportedly declined by 15% to 7.6 million, while sales of Nintendo's Switch console fell 18% to 16.4 million. The data was provided to coincide with Sony's announcement that the PS5 had cleared 50 million sales since launching in November of 2020. The console reached sales milestone just 1 week slower than the PS4, despite having to contend with COVID-related supply issues, which have now been overcome. Sony Interactive Entertainment head of marketing global Eric Lempel told the FT that the biggest November on record with PlayStation sales measured both units and revenue. The company is aiming to ship 25 million PS5 consoles during its current fiscal year ending March 2024. If achieved, it would beat a 25-year-old console sales record set when the original PlayStation shipped 22.6 million units over a 12-month period. They also said they're optimistic that the console can surpass PS4's lifetime sales of 117 million units. He said, I think we have the ability to get there. Demand for the PS5 going into this year was huge. Momentum is strong, and now it's continuing. So when people kind of look at this and kind of talk about maybe where Xbox is with this, I think that we are starting to see a little bit of a difference. My main question is, with stuff like this, how can you know what Xbox sales were? Honestly, how can anybody know? If Microsoft isn't reporting them, how can anybody know? So obviously it's been many years now since Microsoft stopped providing sales figures for the Xbox One, and this continued on the Xbox Series X and S. So we don't truly know the details about how many Xboxes Microsoft sold. Analysts often provide their own estimates, and according to a figure from Ampere Analysis, Xbox sales have dropped by 15%. To somewhere in the region of 7.6 million units. This apparently means the PS5 outsold it by almost 3-1 this year, as the PS5 figures are sitting at 22.5 million units with a 65% increase. Sony's confirmed it has now sold over 50 million PS5 consoles, meaning that the Switch did drop to 16.4 million, but pretty interesting to say the least. While it may look like bad reading for Xbox, it's also highlighted in the report that the Series X struggled with supply issues in the first half of the year, and that hardware sales aren't the be-all end-all of Microsoft's strategy. For example, here's a snippet of what they had to say, and I quote, Sony really cares about selling hardware, but from a Microsoft perspective, it's more about their subscription service. So if we look at the other comparisons, it seems as though Xbox Series X and S has sold somewhere in the region of 25 million to 30 million units, which is obviously half the PS5. And don't forget, we're seeing plenty of Black Friday and Christmas deals recently. Like, they've been selling these things at a pretty good price or whatever recently. So I think that we're probably going to see even more. If I were them, I would just lower the price. I mean, you got to bite the bullet a little bit. I still think Xbox is going to be the main way that they're going to attract people to Game Pass. It's going to be the main way that they're going to attract people to the ecosystem. Because let's just face it, like, the whole streaming thing isn't exactly one-to-one. It isn't really par for a great experience, and paying a couple $100 a year to stream some games. I don't know if that's exactly indicative of what a lot of people, especially like the casuals, would do, especially when you can get, you know, like a Series S or whatever fairly cheap and get into the ecosystem that way. So the supply constraints are there, like less there now than when the generation started, for sure. But Microsoft, like I said multiple times, have made some wrong bets in the past, including a situation with cloud gaming. They really thought cloud gaming would be this huge thing this generation, and it isn't. Who could have told them that? Oh, I know I could have. But yeah, when you see that, oh, okay, things have fallen a little bit. I would just question, how would anybody know, really, outside of a guesstimate, I guess. And outside of that, how do we know, and like anything in the future, if they're at, let's just say that this generation goes 6 or 7 years, even at the current pace, if you say Xbox is at 25-30 million, they could easily be at 60 to 70 million by the time the generation is over. So for what might seem like bad to some people right now, realistically maybe isn't as bad as people would say long term, because that would put them in the upper echelon of kind of what's going on. So to me anyway, I think it's very interesting how these things kind of come about or whatever. But at the end of the day, I feel like what we're kind of starting to see is that Microsoft is starting to push the console more in a way that is going to kind of push it for different markets and things like that. You have to be aggressive, and I find that that's what they're finally starting to do, is be a lot more aggressive with this, and that's exactly what they needed to do. Microsoft needed to be aggressive, and it looks like they're aggressive with the pricing right now, and they're being aggressive with a lot of these different announcements and things like that. So I'm very curious to hear what everybody else thinks, though. I know everybody goes, oh, well, it's fallen to this or this. Again, you have to keep in mind that everything is not as black and white as it seems, and you go, oh, well, it's fallen this, or I don't think it's exactly as bleak as a lot of people would have you believe. Clearly Microsoft is not going to sell more consoles than PlayStation, but I still think what we're going to see is a very competitive market in the future. So that's something I think that really kind of bodes well for Microsoft as well. But again, I would love to hear everybody else's thoughts and opinions on this. Like, what do you guys think? Is it something that realistically Microsoft should be wary about? Should they go for less of a price? Should they just keep focusing on the software and the services and try to make up things there? I would love the thought process of each and every one of you. Especially if you're an Xbox fan, let me know what you guys think, because I feel like that we're in a sort of day and age where Microsoft is going to be really doing well with everything that they're kind of pushing. But we'll see what happens. Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great day. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crap Gamer 'em up. I'm Crap Gamer. This has been Crap Gamer Reviews. Please like the video and subscribe. Crap Gamer out.